this person, the general contractor, is going to manage all those people. They're going to line them up, make sure they come in at the right time, do what they're supposed to do it well, and then the project gets done on time, it's done well. Thought I should make a video on the topic of dealing with contractors in real estate investing. It's super important to get this right because generally nowadays, especially if you're in Southern Ontario, finding the best deals usually means finding deals that need extensive work or at least a mid-size renovation. And for something like that, you need a professional contractor, someone who's vetted, they're good at what they do, they have experience, and they're reliable. And timing is everything because finding the wrong person could mean loss of time and money. I'll kind of cover the different types of contractors there are because you should know this before you get into any sort of renovation. There's people we call general contractors, which are basically, they're project managers / contractors, so they might specialize in something, but their skill is really managing everybody. So for bigger jobs, like let's say you're doing a legal basement, which is pretty common, you're gonna need a set of contractors, and this person, the general contractor, is going to manage all those people. They're going to line them up, make sure they come in at the right time, do what they're supposed to do it well, and then the project gets done on time, it's done well. So everyone has to work alongside each other, so you need to have someone that can manage all these people, and ideally they have good relationships with people in each of these positions. The other thing too is general contractors can identify problems, or they can identify when there's good work or bad work done, which you might not have experience with because you've probably never managed a rental before, you've maybe never done a project before, so you need someone with that eye that can identify that stuff. So this tends to make the jobs go quicker and smoother. And again, like I said, time is money because the wrong person or having something done the wrong way can delay your projects months, which can cost you a lot of money, especially if you're doing something like a flip. You can lose a couple $1,000s just like that. So those individual people, a lot of times now, if you're looking at hiring them, here's the difference. You're gonna pay them and you're gonna have to first find them. So you'll probably be interviewing a bunch of people for each job. You're gonna make sure that they're good. So rather than doing your due diligence with one person, the general contractor, now you're doing it with different people for each specific job. And you're gonna have to make sure they're good, double check everything, verify everything, and then you're gonna have to negotiate with them, manage them, make sure they come in at a time and do what they're supposed to do and leave, and make sure they work well alongside other people. So you're basically taking a project management role. Now, the pro to this is you're gonna probably save money because there's no fee that the general contractor is charging you. Essentially, you are the general contractor. But the con is that you're doing the project management. So if you have another business or a day job, it's basically taking your attention away from that. And now you're gonna spend a minimum of a couple hours a week just managing these people. And if anything goes wrong, it'll get even worse because now you're gonna spend more time, more headaches, everything. The other thing is you're probably not qualified enough to hire these people and understand each aspect. Like something as simple as doing drywall, it can affect your whole job and cost you a lot of money if it's not done correctly. So those little things can really add up. So you just gotta make sure that if you are gonna do this, you understand this stuff, or you have someone maybe on your team. In terms of like finding the individual people or solid contractors, like especially general contractors, which I think you should probably do, especially if you're starting out. The number one place I would say is references. So if you're an investor, you probably know other investors or you know professionals that are working within the business. They can refer you to people because most of the time, most people know each other. So I would consult people and get references. And that's usually how you'll find the best contractors. If you're looking yourself or you do get a referral, you're still gonna have to do your due diligence. So you're gonna wanna know exactly what they do, where their company is located, if they have any locations, because that's always a plus, because that means they actually have a physical presence. Also, what sort of experience do they have? How long have they been in business? Do they have experience doing these specific jobs? If you're giving someone a bigger job and they only do kitchens or just very basic work, it's going to take them a long time to figure this stuff out because they're going to have to figure out all these moving parts. So you might as well just hire people yourself. The next step is actually establishing terms and timelines. So someone who's experienced, they're already going to understand all this stuff. So if they've done a legal basement, let's say like 10, 20 times, they know how long it takes. In terms of like pricing, you can always find out what the market rate is. So same thing, go to the market, talk to investors, do some research online, and you'll know what a fair price is. And prices change a lot. Like in COVID, things skyrocketed, especially material costs. So you want to know what you're talking about. Don't just like assume things. And if you think something is expensive, you don't want to burn a relationship just because you're uneducated on a matter. So you're going to need to obviously identify the scope of work, meaning what exactly is this person doing and the different jobs that are going to be happening within that specific renovation. So they'll highlight that, and you want to get all that stuff on paper. So the scope of the work, the timelines, the pricing, and most importantly, you want contingencies. So if you go over or they go over, there's cost overruns, or for whatever reason there's delays, what happens? You want to establish that in contracts or on paper, and you don't want to be too rigid because you might think having stuff like just black and white helps, but almost always, like anyone will tell you, jobs often take longer than they're supposed to, and there's always cost overruns, so just be prepared for that. Personally, like with my experience dealing with contractors, I've dealt with general contractors and I've also hired out people individually. So with general contractors, because I got referrals, it was pretty smooth. There were some hiccups. A lot of times it was out of both of our controls, but we had things in paper. And what I did was I actually went and saw the job that they were doing because they were doing the same type of job I needed them to do. And I interviewed them on the job site, kind of got to see their work, how they work with their team, that sort of stuff. So if you can do that, that's a bonus. I would recommend doing that. And you can really build a relationship doing that and establish some rapport and build some trust. Remember, you're not the only one that's trying to build trust. At the end of the day, like contractors, if they're professionals, they might not want to work with you either if they don't know who you are, or if they think you're not serious. So it's always good to have that and build rapport that way. I did do individual contractors as well on a different job, and it worked out for the most part, but I found I had to interview people. It took a lot of time. Like I had one guy that was supposed to give me a quote, he went MIA. I had another guy, he just never showed up. And then the guy I did hire, he was good, but then towards the end, I could tell he wanted to leave, but he did do a good job. But that whole process took an extra month longer than it should have, just because I had to find these people. I didn't have access to them, especially in that specific area. And with other people like HVAC, electrical, it was pretty quick, but it just took time to get them in there. And I feel like if I had a GC from my prior experiences, I probably could have saved a month or two on the work, and there would have been a little bit more accountability on the contractor's parts. The pro is I did build some relationships through doing that, because I found HVAC guys, for example, that are super reliable and they did a really good job. I was able to refer them to clients and other people in my investor groups. It's good and bad to kind of like take on a more heavy role with that, but do whatever you're comfortable with. Things to consider, I would say, is like you don't want to just hire people that are referred to you by friends or family, because a lot of times people that are being referred to you, they're not qualified. So they might do small rentals. That's been my experience. I had a client go through this recently. They're not really the best to hire for especially like bigger jobs. And as an investor, a lot of times you are going to be hiring people for like jobs that are at least 50K plus. So this person might just not be experienced enough. And they might not even want to tell you that until things get bad. And then you're going to regret your decision. And whatever money you saved or potential convenience you saw is going to go out the window. You're going to lose time and money now. You want to communicate openly, honestly. So I told you some of the things you can do to kind of address things up front, and that's probably the best way. Like establish expectations with timelines and money and just scope of work. Do your due diligence, and that way you can communicate openly of what you're okay with, what you're not. And the contractor, a lot of times they'll give you feedback too. They'll just tell you if they are okay with something or not. Especially like stuff related to budgets and timelines, it's super important. And most importantly, just be respectful, because you're gonna have to probably come across this person again. If you're focused on a certain market, everybody knows each other. And you never know when you're going to need that person again. You never know when you're going to come across them. It's a small world. Everyone knows each other. Long story short, as an investor, like contractors, they can make or break your business. So you want to find the right person, do your due diligence, and just be educated on these matters. And over time, it'll become pretty natural. You'll understand this stuff a little bit better. You don't want to cheap out on bigger jobs. It's going to end up costing you anyways. So just connect with people, get references, hire the right people for the right jobs that are experienced with those types of jobs, and reach out to me. I'm an agent investor in Hamilton. So if you're looking for an investment project of this sort, or you're looking for a contractor, I might be able to help you out.